All right, class, in this brief video, we just want to review the coordinate plane. I actually want to be able to map some points. And so probably the first thing we want to focus on is just that this axis is the horizontal axis, the one moving this way. That is our horizontal axis. And our vertical axis is going to be called our y-axis. Now, when we think about plotting points, and that's how we think about it, we always want to remember this, that the x always comes first. So whenever we see something written like, so let's say 2, 3, 2 comma 3, the 2 is going to be our x coordinate, the 3 is going to be our y coordinate. And that means that I start with my horizontal axis. That means I start with this axis right here, my horizontal axis, that's going to be my x. So I'm going to go by that axis to plot my x coordinate. The 3 is my y coordinate, which is going to be on the y-axis, which is the vertical axis here. So the way I would do that is I would go over 1, 2, and then up 3. So I've gone over 2, and then I've gone up 3. And so this point here, let's call this point A. That would be point A. Well, what about point B? What if I said -2 and 3? Well, now what I'm going to do is go from the origin, 1, 2 in the left, that's going to be -2 on the x-axis, and then up 3. So that point would actually be right there. So this would be over 2 and up 3. That's going to be point B. Well, what about point C? Why don't we do 3 and say -5? That's going to put me at going from here, the origin, 1, 2, 3 in the x-axis, and then down 5 in the y-axis, which is going to put me a point right there. So over 3, down 5, boom. And we'll call that point C. And so it's helpful to think about. Let's also label these coordinates. This will be very common as you move through algebra, where this is coordinate 1, this is coordinate 2, or let's say quadrant, excuse me, that's quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and this would be quadrant 4. Now it's also important to remember the signs. In quadrant 1, the x is always positive and the y is always positive. In quadrant 2, the x is always negative and the y is positive. In quadrant 3, this is a negative x and a negative y. Quadrant 4 is a positive x but a negative y. So those coordinates here are very helpful. I'm going to go positive in the x in quadrant 1 and positive in the y. In quadrant 2, I'm going to go negative in the x. I'm going to the left. Remember, left is negative, down is negative. Quadrant 2, I'm going to go left, so that's negative. But I'm going to be going up. Up is a positive sign. Now in quadrant 3, I go to the left on the x, which is negative, and I go down in the y, which is negative. Hence, both the x and the y have a negative sign. Quadrant 4, I'm moving to the right in the x on the x-axis, so that means it's a positive. But I am moving down in the y-axis, which means it is negative. All right, quick review of the coordinate plane and just reminding yourself of how the xy coordinate plane works. Hopefully this helps. Send me any questions you have.